Content warning. This episode discusses death, loss, grief, healthcare work, and spiritual experiences. Please listen with care. For over 20 years, I lived surrounded by death, and I was burnt out. I was burnt toast. My life force was severely depleted. I was like a zombie. I worked in dialysis. I was a phlebotomist and an LVN. I did private in-home care, hospice, dementia care. I also worked in the emergency room and other areas of the hospital. And somewhere along the way, I stopped living my own life. I was so busy being present for everyone else's endings that I forgot I had a life too. Today, I'm going to teach you about compassion fatigue, what it is, how to spot it, and how to wake up before you forget you're alive too. Hey everyone, it's Nikki, and welcome to Real Talk with Nikki, No Filter. Today's episode is about death, but it's also about life, about waking up, about learning what really matters before it's too late. Content warning before we start. We're talking about death, working in healthcare, losing multiple family members, witnessing people pass, and some spiritual experiences around dying. If that's intense for you right now, come back when you're ready. I'll be here. So, I spent over 20 years surrounded by death, working in dialysis as a phlebotomist, as an LVN, private in-home care, hospice, dementia care. I got very good at predicting when someone would pass. My coworkers were always in awe, curious about how I would be able to predict something like this. How did I know? I was always wondering how they couldn't tell, how they didn't know. Sometimes my coworkers would argue with me. Nikki, this patient isn't showing any signs of that. There's no death rattle. There's no signs. And I'd say, call the family. Have them come in right now so they can spend their last minutes with their loved one. You're just going to have to trust me on this. I guess it's a knowing. You just know. There was a shift of energy in the room, a shift of energy with the patient, and just the way the patient was acting. I don't know. To me, it was clear signs what was going on. Where my grandmother lived, the mortuary in that medium-sized town knew all my family members by name. Not because we were special, but because they'd buried every one of my family members from that side of the family. My grandmother from that side of the family outlived all of her children, every single one of them, and her husband. She outlived her husband. All she had was us grandchildren, great-grandchildren. And somewhere along the way, I wasn't living life to the fullest. I was so busy being around death, being present for everyone else's endings, witnessing transitions, holding space for grief, that I stopped living my own life. This is the story of how being surrounded by death for over 20 years taught me how precious life is, how I became numb to everything, death and life, and how I finally woke up. But more than that, I'm going to teach you what compassion fatigue is, how to spot it in yourself, what the 7 major red flags are, and what to do about it. Because if you're in caregiving, if you're in healthcare, if you're an empath who absorbs everyone's pain, if you're a social worker or a therapist or a hospice worker, you need to hear this before you forget you're alive too. My journey with death started when I was young. At about 10 years old, I saw my first dead body, my uncle, who was shot in the back of the head. Looking back now, knowing what I know, that funeral home did one hell of a job because I saw him and I processed it the only way a 10-year-old could. Being an empath, having experiences my whole life with spirit, it's nothing new to me. I've always been sensitive to energy, to things most people can't see or feel. So after my uncle passed, I used to see him at my grandmother's house all the time, just there, visiting. And it made sense to me because that's where his mom was. Moms equal home. Moms equal safe. That's what most moms are, right? So, of course, he'd be there, checking in on her at all the family gatherings, making sure everyone was okay. Then at 14, I helped my grandma take care of my grandpa while I was visiting. He had a feeding tube. His care was medically extensive and intense. I never thought caregiving would become my profession, but when I look back now, that's exactly what I do. I take care of people. That's who I am. That's what I've always done. It's pretty sad when the mortuary in the medium-sized town where your family lives knows your family by first name. And my poor grandmother, she outlived all of her children, every single one, even her husband. What a strong, resilient woman she was. What kind of strength does that even take? To bury your babies? No matter how old they are, they're still your babies. And then to outlive your husband, your rock. I don't even know how to process that. Let me pause here and name what this is. Early exposure to death and caregiving. When children are exposed to death, especially traumatic death, and then placed in caregiving roles at a young age, it programs you. You learn death is normal. It becomes your normal, even though it's not developmentally appropriate. Caregiving is your role. You're the strong one, the helper. Your needs come last because someone's always dying or hurting. You're strong enough to handle it, so you keep handling it. You don't get to fall apart because someone needs you. And you carry that into adulthood. You seek out caregiving professions because it feels familiar, because you're good at it, because you've been doing it since you were 14. But what you don't realize is you're recreating the pattern. You're surrounding yourself with the same trauma over and over. And eventually, even if you're strong, even if you're resilient, even if you were made for this, it breaks you. After working in dialysis and being a phlebotomist, I wanted to do more, so I decided to do the LVN program, licensed vocational nurse, then in-home care, then hospice, then dementia care. Over 20 years of this, I've experienced a lot of things in healthcare. I've seen a lot of things. Some of it makes sense. Some of it absolutely makes no sense at all. Let me tell you, when you can actually predict when somebody is going to pass, when you just know, you start getting questions. Coworkers asking, "What gift do you have?" Or sometimes, "Have you been in this field a little too long?" I don't know if it's a gift. Sometimes it felt more like a curse. My coworkers would want to argue with me when I'd tell them someone was about to pass. "Nikki, this patient isn't showing any signs of death. There's no death rattle. There's no change in breathing. There's no physical signs yet." And yet I just knew. I'd feel it. The energy would shift. The room would be very different. I could read the patient. And I'd say, "I'm telling you, call the family. Have them come in right now so they have what time is left to spend with their loved one, because it's happening soon." They learned to take me serious very quickly. It's just a knowing, I guess. Maybe it's being an empath. Maybe it's being around death so much you can sense it. Maybe it's a spiritual gift. Maybe it's pattern recognition after witnessing hundreds of deaths. I don't have the answer. You just know. Eventually, I can't say I got burnt out exactly, but it wore on me. It wore on me heavy, really heavy. I got weary of being surrounded by death. It was sad. It was constant. It was everywhere I looked. As an empath, I just soaked all those emotions in from everyone else, from the patients who were scared, from the families losing their loved ones, from coworkers who were drained. I'd go home after a shift and I'd have to sage myself. Now, when I say sage, that's kind of a broad term here. I would just follow what my body told me to do, whether it was sage myself, burn some type of incense, use some Palo Santo, anything just to clear my energy and ground myself. Literally, put my bare feet on the earth to discharge all the death energy I had absorbed. It had become a routine. It wasn't optional, it was survival. I enjoyed every minute of caring for those people. I loved being there for their families during the hardest moments of their lives. But it became a lot, more than a lot, more than I even realized at the time. And I was happy when I finally made the decision to leave. I needed it. My soul, my energy, my life force needed it. I was drowning and I didn't even know it. I was the frog in the pot of slowly boiling water. When I worked at the hospital, and remember I was working 2 jobs at this point, I'd get so worn down, I'd need to take a nap during breaks. So, you know what I did? I would go down to the lab that was right across from the morgue and take a nap in there. I knew that was the only place I could actually get some rest, where nobody would come and find me, because everyone else, they were too afraid to go down there. Dead people don't bother me. Living people, they're draining sometimes. Does that sound healthy to you? Preferring to go take a nap in the lab across from the morgue? Let me tell you what this is. That's compassion fatigue. That's what it does to you. So, what I just described, this is compassion fatigue in full effect. Notice the patterns. I was working 2 jobs simultaneously, overextending myself, can't say no. I was absorbing everyone's grief daily, empathic overload with no boundaries. I had to sage and ground myself every day just to function, desperate self care as survival. I was hiding from living people, social withdrawal, isolation. I preferred being near dead bodies to being around the living, emotional numbness, disconnection from life. This is what compassion fatigue looks like when it's taking over your life. It creeps up on you slowly. You think you're fine, you think you're managing, you think this is just what the job requires. But you're not fine. You're depleting. You're dying inside while everyone around you is literally dying. And you don't even notice because death has become so normal to you that you've forgotten what life feels like. Being surrounded by death so much for over 20 years really taught me how precious life is, how time is really borrowed. I mean, we've all heard people say, time isn't promised, it's borrowed. That actually makes a lot of sense to me now, because I've seen time run out. Too many times than I care to mention. We need to make the most out of everything. Live life to the fullest. Stop putting things off. Stop waiting for someday. Stop waiting for the right time. And just because the soul has left this world, that doesn't always have to be an ugly thing. It can be a beautiful thing. The transition, the actual moment of passing, can be absolutely beautiful. I've seen patients who've left this world with a flash of the brightest, beautiful light, like something opened up and they were welcomed home. I've also seen patients struggle to leave, afraid, holding on, and fighting. I've seen the angel of death, the grim reaper, whatever you want to call it. I've seen it. I've seen spirits waiting in the room. I felt the energy shift when they finally let go. All this stuff, it hasn't made me afraid of death. If anything, it gives me a comfort, a peace, knowing that there's something on the other side. I've witnessed it too many times to doubt it. It did cost me, but here's what being around all that death for 20 plus years did to me. I forgot I was alive. I was so busy being present for everyone else's endings that I wasn't living my own life. I existed. I survived. I showed up for everyone else. I was the rock, the strong one, the one who could handle it, but I wasn't living. I didn't take time for myself. I was too worn down and too guilty. I didn't feel joy like I had used to. I was too numb from absorbing everyone's pain. I wasn't the silly person that I normally am. Everything felt weighty. I didn't dream about my future. I was too consumed by everyone else's present and past. I kind of gave up on hobbies. I mean, I didn't have time or the energy. I didn't go out with friends very much. I was isolating without even realizing it. That's what compassion fatigue does. It steals your life while you're busy saving everyone else's. You become the walking dead while caring for the dying. Now let's get to it. How to know if you have it. All right, let's get tactical. Let's get real because this is happening to someone listening right now. Maybe it's happening to you and you don't even realize it yet. You need to know what to look for. These are the 7 major red flags of compassion fatigue. Red flag number 1. You feel numb instead of sad. Death doesn't affect you anymore. You can't cry even when you want to. You can't feel the weight of loss anymore. You feel emotionally flat, like you're watching life from behind glass. You're there, but you're not there. Patients die, and you just move on to the next task. Chart it, clean the room, next patient. This is emotional numbing. Your brain protecting you by shutting down all feeling because feeling would be too much. Red flag number 2. You're avoiding emotional connection. You still do the tasks, you're technically doing your job, but you don't connect anymore. You keep conversations surface level. You don't ask about their families, you don't learn their stories. You protect yourself by not caring because caring hurts too much now. This is emotional distancing. It's a survival mechanism, but it means you've lost what made you good at this job, your heart. Red flag number 3, you're depleted even after rest. Sleep doesn't help anymore. You can't sleep for 10 hours and wake up already spent. You're already drained. It's not body tired, it's soul tired, bone tired. The kind of depletion that rest can't fix because it's not physical, it's spiritual and emotional. This is what vicarious trauma does. It lives in your nervous system. Red flag number 4, you're isolating from people. You avoid friends and family, you cancel plans, you don't return calls. Social interactions feel draining. You'd rather be alone. Or in my case, you'd rather nap next to the morgue than deal with living people. This is social withdrawal. You're protecting your depleted energy by removing yourself from everyone. But isolation makes it worse. You need connection to heal, but you're too spent to connect. Red flag number 5. You're having physical symptoms. Your body is screaming at you to stop. Chronic headaches, stomach issues, muscle tension that won't release, getting sick frequently because your immune system is shot, unexplained pain, fatigue, weight gain, or loss. Your body is keeping score, and the score is you're in danger. Red flag number 6. You can't feel joy. The things that used to make you happy don't anymore. Music doesn't move you. Sunsets don't touch you. Your kids' laughter doesn't light you up. You're going through the motion of life. Everything feels gray, muted, flat. And this is called anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. It's a symptom of deep depression and burnout. Red flag number 7. You've forgotten what it feels like to be alive. This is the big one, the one that scared me the most when I finally recognized it. You exist, but you're not living. You're surviving, not thriving. You wake up, you go to work, you come home, you go to sleep, repeat. But you're not making memories, you're not dreaming, you're not experiencing joy or wonder or excitement. You become the walking dead while caring for the dying. If you're experiencing 3 or more of these red flags, you have compassion fatigue. Please, please get help. This is not sustainable. This is not just part of the job. This is trauma. Side note, full 12 red flags are in the free download, Caregivers Survival Guide at realtalkwithnikki.com. That's realtalkwithnikki.com. Choosing life over death. When I made the decision to leave healthcare, people didn't understand. But you're so good at it. But the patients need you. But what will you do instead? I had to explain. It wasn't because I stopped caring about people. It was because I needed to remember what it felt like to be alive. Not just exist, not just survive, not just show up for other people's journeys, but to actually live my own life. I realized I don't take things for granted like I used to. I understand now, deeply, in my bones, how valuable time is, how borrowed it is. I understand how important it is to reach out to people who've been on my mind, to actually make the call, send the text, make the plans, and show up. To get together with friends, the ones that matter to me, the people I actually care about, to let them know I'm thinking of them, that they matter. And you know what? Doing the dishes, vacuuming the carpet, that can hang out a minute. Seriously, it can wait. They're going to be there when I get home. Because spending time making memories with my grandchildren, with my loved ones, with the people who won't be here forever, my elders, that's so much more important than a clean house. And yeah, that's coming from someone with terrible OCD. It's all a learning lesson. Being surrounded by all those endings taught me to value the middle. That now, the messy, beautiful, ordinary moments we're living right now. My grandmother, the ultimate lesson. My grandmother outlived all of her children. Let that sink in. Every single one of her children and her husband. Can you imagine that kind of strength, that kind of resilience? Bearing your babies, no matter how old they are, 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, they're still your babies. And she did that multiple times. She buried every single one of her children. And she kept going. She kept loving. She kept being the matriarch of our family. She kept waking up every day and choosing life, choosing to live. The mortuary knew us by first names because of how much loss our family experienced in that town. But my grandmother, she taught me the most important lesson. You can be surrounded by death and still choose life. You can experience unimaginable loss and still find reasons to smile. You can bury the people you love most in this world and still wake up the next day and love harder, not less. That woman was a warrior, a true warrior. And she showed me death is inevitable, but how we live in the face of death, that's our choice. Okay, if you're in caregiving, healthcare, social work, therapy, hospice, if you recognize yourself in those red flags, here's what you need to do. This is your action plan, 7 steps. Number 1, name it. Stop calling it just stress or just tired or having a rough week. Name it. This is compassion fatigue. This is vicarious trauma. This is burnout combined with secondary traumatic stress. This is not weakness. This is not failure. This is not being too sensitive. You are not broken. You're depleted from absorbing everyone else's trauma. Naming it is the first step to addressing it. Step number 2, set boundaries at work. This is the hardest one, but it's critical. You can't save everyone. You cannot save everyone. Let me say it again. You cannot save everyone. You can't work every shift. You cannot pick up every extra call. You cannot be available 24/7. You can't absorb everyone's pain and still function. Learn to say, I'm at capacity. I need support. I can't take another patient today. I need to leave on time today. I need a mental health day. Your workplace will push back. The system is designed to squeeze every drop out of you. But your life is more important than their staffing shortage. Set the boundary anyway. Step 3, create a decompression ritual. You need a transition between work and home, a ritual that signals to your nervous system, work is over. You're safe now. You can let go. What I did, sage and grounding, as soon as I got home. Burning sage, Palo Santo, incense. Just listen to your body here and go with what feels right. Take off my shoes and I would stand barefoot on the earth for 5 to 10 minutes, visualizing all that death energy draining out of me into the ground. What you can do? Shower immediately when you get home and visualize washing off the day. Change clothes right away. Work clothes carry energy. Do a 5-minute meditation or breathing exercise in your car before you go inside. Listen to a specific song that shifts your energy. Have a physical transition, activity, stretch, walk, dance it out. If the weather permits, drive with the window down. on your way home. Let all the air just blow everything out the window. The key, physical separation between work and home. Don't bring that energy into your home. Step number 4, get therapy for you. Not therapy for your patients, not clinical supervision. Therapy for you. Find a therapist who specializes in compassion fatigue, vicarious trauma, EMDR for secondary trauma. You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're giving all day at work, you need someone to fill your cup. This isn't optional. This is a required maintenance for your soul. Step number 5, reconnect with what makes you feel alive. Like Frankenstein is alive. Okay, seriously. What did you love before this job consumed you? What hobbies did you have? What made you laugh? What brought you joy? When was the last time you did something just because it made you happy? Not productive, not should do, just pure joy. For me, I need to remember what it felt like to play, to have fun, to be spontaneous. Do more of what brings you joy, not less. The dishes can wait. Your life cannot wait. Schedule joy like it's a doctor's appointment, because it is. It's medicine for compassion fatigue. Step 6, practice empathic boundaries, especially for my empaths listening. You can care about someone without absorbing their pain. You can hold space for their grief without carrying it home. You can be present without losing yourself. This is called empathic boundaries. Visualize a protective boundary around yourself, like a light, a shield, a bubble, whatever works for you. Say internally, I witness your pain, but I don't carry it home with me. Practice grounding techniques during your shift, not just after, but before. Differentiate between compassion, I see your suffering, and enmeshment, your suffering is now my suffering. Compassion does not require self-destruction. You can be an excellent caregiver and protect your own energy. Those two things can coexist. Step number 7, know when it's time to leave. This is the hardest truth. Some seasons are meant to end. Some jobs are meant to be temporary, even if you thought they'd be forever. Leaving doesn't mean you failed. Leaving doesn't mean you're weak. Leaving doesn't mean you didn't care enough. It means you're choosing to live. Your life matters as much as theirs. Your health matters. Your joy matters. Your future matters. If you've tried everything and you're still drowning, you have permission to leave. The system will survive without you, but will you survive if you stay? I left healthcare, and it was the best decision I ever made for my soul. The biggest lesson death taught me? Here's the biggest lesson, the one I need you to hear. Time is borrowed, not promised. Borrowed. That means every moment you have with the people you love is a gift, a temporary gift. Don't wait, don't put things off, don't assume there will be more time. Call the person who's been on your mind. Make the plans you've been putting off. Take the trip. Have the hard conversations. Say I love you out loud. The dishes can wait. The emails can wait. Death taught me to live because your life can't wait. Surrounded by all those endings, I finally learned what matters. And what matters is this, right now, the people you love, the moments you're living, the memories you're making. Not someday, not when things calm down, not when you retire, now. So let's get into some professional support for compassion fatigue. I've compiled all the resources you need: the Schwartz Center, Vicarious Trauma Toolkit, Pro QOL Assessment, Therapy Finder, Crisis Support, in your free Caregivers Survival Guide. Download it at realtalkwithnikki.com/compassion. That's REALTALkwithnikki.com/compassion. It includes Complete 12 Red Flags Expanded, Compassion Fatigue Self-Assessment, Boundary Scripts for Healthcare Workers, Decompression Rituals, Complete Resource List with websites and phone numbers. Please use these resources. You don't have to do this alone. You can heal from compassion fatigue. And if burnout has become crisis, if you're having thoughts of self-harm, call or text 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, available 24/7. You matter. So here's what I want you to take from my 20 plus years of being surrounded by death. If you're in healthcare, in grief work, in hospice, in social work, in any field where you're constantly exposed to suffering and loss, take care of yourself with the same compassion you give to everyone else. Sage yourself, ground yourself, get therapy, set boundaries. Don't carry it all alone. And if you're mourning someone right now, if you're scared of death, if you're wondering what happens after, let me tell you what I've witnessed hundreds of times. The transition can be beautiful. Death isn't the end. And the love you shared, that never dies. It just changes form. I've seen the other side. I've seen the light. I've felt the peace that comes when someone finally lets go. There's nothing to fear. But here's what I need you to hear, loud and clear. You can be surrounded by death and still choose life. My grandmother taught me that. She buried every single one of her children and still chose to love, to live, to be fully present for the people who remained. Death taught me how to live. It taught me that time is borrowed, not promised. It taught me that the dishes can wait. But memories with my grandchildren cannot. It taught me that showing up for someone's ending is sacred work. But forgetting to live your own life in the process is tragedy. If you're listening to this and you've forgotten you're alive, this is your wake-up call. You're still here. You're still breathing. You still have time. Go live, really live, while you're here. So 3 things I need you to do this week, not next week, this week. Download the Caregivers Survival Guide, Preventing Compassion Fatigue. Go to realtalkwithnikki.com/compassion. That's realtalkwithnikki.com/compassion. It has the complete 12 red flags expanded, compassion fatigue self-assessment, boundary scripts for healthcare workers, decompression rituals, complete resource list. It's free. It's yours. Download it today. Second, take the ProQoL, the PROQOL assessment. Go to PROQOL.org. Take 5 minutes, be honest, see where you really are. Knowledge is power. Number 3, do one thing this week that makes you feel alive. Not productive, not should do, something that brings you joy. Remember what it feels like. Schedule it like a doctor's appointment. The dishes can wait. Your life cannot. Thank you for listening to Real Talk with Nikki, no filter. If this episode hit home, if you recognize yourself in those red flags, if you've been surrounded by death and forgot to live, share this with someone who needs to hear it. Share it with your coworkers in healthcare, your fellow caregivers, someone who's drowning and doesn't even know it yet. DM me on Instagram at Real Talk with Nikki. Tell me what makes you feel alive. What did you remember you loved after listening to this? Next week, episode 7, Too Young to Be This Broken, where we talk about medical gaslighting, undiagnosed medical disorders, what happens when the medical system fails you for decades. That's going to be intense. But if you've ever been dismissed by doctors, told it's all in your head or you're too young to have all these problems, you need to hear this. Until then, go live, really live, while you're here. That's the lesson death taught me. The dishes can wait. The laundry can wait. Go live your life. I'm Nikki, and this is Real Talk, no filter.